Tonight we're driving the 2023 Toyota bZ4x. The last time we were in one of these was at the First Drive event in California. I've spent the week in this one here in Michigan. It's cold out, it's dark out, so we're going to be doing a winter POV night drive. Talk about what this has been like to live with this week. Let's start it up, we'll walk you around it, and we'll take it for a drive and talk about that experience. All right, so this bZ4x is the limited all-wheel drive, the top trim. All-wheel drive adds about $2,000 to every trim package. There's the XLE, the limited, the front-wheel drive. This gets 222 miles on a full charge. That's what it's rated for. With the climate control on right now at a full charge, it's telling me 186 miles. With climate control off, 290 miles. So over 100 miles difference there with climate on and off. We're going to turn it on because it is freezing outside, about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And yeah, we're also going to talk about cold weather performance in this review too. So the bZ4x is an interesting electric crossover. It starts with its name, which I think stands for Beyond Zero. 4 is kind of the size of this, like the RAV4, and then X just means that it's a crossover. I'm sure the name sounded like a good idea in the conference room with all those meetings that went on at Toyota, but gosh, are people really going to remember what this thing is called? I think it's a decent looking crossover after living with it. It's not that disagreeable in person. In photos it looked kind of strange, but I don't know, it just kind of looks like a slightly more modernized RAV4 in my mind. Bigger Prius, I don't know, however you want to describe the styling. It's a good size, enough cargo space, there's no frunk. I like the headlights. It drives well enough. The only problem with something like this might just be taking it on road trips could be a cumbersome charging experience. The all-wheel drive bZ4x can only charge at speeds of up to 100 kilowatts. The front-wheel drive can do 150 kilowatts, but honestly, that's just not fast enough. You can charge this on level 2 charging in your garage in about 9 hours from 0 to 100%. That's fine, that's pretty average. This is going to be an around-town local driving vehicle. And for $50,000, I don't know, is that what you want to spend for something like that? When you can get a Chevrolet Bolt for about half the price? So I think this is going to be kind of a niche buyer group. A lot of Toyota loyalists and someone who's looking for a crossover this size that is electric. You don't buy a $50,000 electric car to save money on gas. You buy it because you want one. I do think this will appeal to some buyers, especially those who love Toyota as a brand and want to support their electric vehicle efforts. So we've got a decent amount of cargo space back here. Don't believe we get a spare tire. Nope, we just get some foam down there. A little bit less room in here than the RAV4, but still quite a usable amount of cargo area. We've already walked you around this bZ4x in the daytime, and we're probably going to leave most of the walk around to that video. If you want to reference that, I'll put a link in the top comment. But what you need to know, comfortable seats, flat floor, USB-C ports in the back, heated seats in the back, which is nice. Not a ton of luxuries and amenities. Substitute TOPher Chris Brower was just in the Lexus RZ 450e, and that is a decidedly more luxurious EV crossover than this bZ4x. I will say the advantage to this bZ4x is that it is all-wheel drive. It has kind of Subaru's X mode all-wheel drive tuning right here. You press this button, you can switch it to different modes, and it has a good amount of ground clearance, 8.1 inches. That's more ground clearance than just about every electric crossover in this class. Usually they're sitting at around, I think Tesla Model Y is around 6 inches, 6.5 inches. Not a lot. This can actually take you off-road. And the Subaru Solterra, which shares this whole, pretty much everything, they're built in the same factory. They're pretty much identical except for some badge changes and a few little tweaks here. The Solterra has 8.3 inches of ground clearance. So you could actually kind of take this off-road. If you live in an area with dirt, dusty roads, or maybe a little bit of winter driving, you can get through that a lot easier with a little bit extra ride height. Here's what our reverse camera looks like. One thing that's really cool about this bZ4x is that it will show you what is underneath the car as you reverse. It'll kind of paint a picture of what's under you based on what the camera's seen before. I think that's kind of neat. Apparently wireless CarPlay is standard in this, but I have not been able to get it to work all week. It has been a complete failure. So the idea is that you put your phone in this little slot here in the middle and you just kind of close it up. But as a result, I've had this door open the whole time and my phone's just kind of sitting there. This is kind of in the way. So I don't remember if wireless CarPlay worked on the launch vehicles or not. Hopefully Toyota fixes that. I don't know if I've driven a bZ4X where wireless CarPlay actually works. So I've had to have a wired connection all week, which is a bit of a bummer. It just could not connect. It kept failing. So we have an eco mode, a button here to view our cameras, which is nice. And then there's this regenerative braking mode. It's called Regeneration Boost. Except the problem is, in cold weather driving, it's pretty much unavailable until you've driven the vehicle for about 30-40 minutes. And even then, it has issues with putting charge back into the battery. So cold weather performance is kind of an interesting topic of discussion in this bZ4X, because as far as a comfort standpoint, it's pretty good. I have a heated steering wheel, heated seats. There's even this kind of heating element underneath the steering wheel, underneath the dashboard, and that will kind of warm your legs a little bit. You can use that, and it uses very little energy. You kind of use that instead of the heating system once everything warms up in this bZ4X to save a little bit on range. But the auto climate control sucks so much range out of this, it's kind of laughable on the range estimate changes. Right now we're seeing a 100-mile range estimate change with the heat on, which is kind of strange. Regenerative braking is pretty much non-existent until about 30 minutes of driving in this bZ4X. And that regenerative boost, same story. It's almost unusable in the winter or cold weather driving. So forget about, and you also get these notifications that keep popping up telling you that your regenerative braking is limited, and this menu keeps popping up. It's kind of annoying. So actually, I think Toyota's hybrids have better regen on cold starts than this bZ4X. You're pretty much always using brake pad on rotor for the first 30-40 minutes of this bZ4X in cold weather driving, which is kind of strange. (214 horsepower from this all-wheel drive car. It's quick enough off the line, especially around town. You get up to highway speeds, it can feel a little bit sluggish, a little bit asthmatic. This all-wheel drive limited weighs around 4,400 pounds, which is actually pretty light compared to a lot of other competitors. The Mustang Mach-E, for example, is 5,000 pounds, a whole 600 pounds heavier than this. So it feels pretty good on the road. It doesn't feel overly cumbersome, overly heavy. It rides nicely. There's a little bit of wind noise here at speed. We have a JBL sound system that's decent. Again, we tested that in the first drive event. Visibility is excellent in this bZ4X. I can see all around me, no issues. The driving position is a little bit strange in that you have to kind of lower the steering wheel enough so that you can see over it to see your display here. And I feel like I've always kind of been straining my neck all week. I've just lowered the steering wheel all the way down, and it works for me. I'm 5'10", I'm pretty skinny. It kind of fits my body type. I don't know how well it would fit other body types. I really don't. If you have like larger legs or something, it might be a bit of an issue. Headlight performance is pretty good, especially with the brights on. And overall build quality in this bZ4X is nice. It's not quite up to the new Prius level, or what I assume that the Toyota Crown would be like, but it feels much higher quality than the RAV4, not as rattly, not as kind of cheap and loose. This is a pretty solidly built EV. Handles well. The thing I like about driving this bZ4X is that it just doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like it has all that weight that most EVs are slinging around. It feels kind of nimble and lightweight. It feels normal. It feels like a normal ICE car in terms of chassis and handling and placement on the road. It's not necessarily fun to drive, but it's just nice. It's just very normal and a good A to B commuter. It's easy to get into. It's easy to live with. The ergonomics in here are fantastic. I don't love the cruise control switches on the steering wheel. I really do miss Toyota's old toggle switch. That was just such a great system. These are a little bit more complex and complicated. You get used to them over time. Some of the most commonly used buttons are set a little bit inboard on the steering wheel, like your set speed and resume and cruise control. It works well enough. The adaptive cruise is actually a pretty good system. It follows nice and close. It isn't too heavy on the brakes. Lane keep doesn't really work as well as I would like, or lane centering doesn't work as well as I would like. It's kind of all over the place, moving back and forth within the lane. So I've mostly turned that off this week. Let's see what handling's like here. Oh yeah, there's no glove box. So all of your user manuals, everything's kind of in the center console. That's what that clunking around is. That's what that sound is. Brake pedal feel is nice. Just feels completely irregular. Since we don't really get any regen in cold weather driving, I guess that's a good thing. Power feels excellent for around town driving. I don't really want any more power out of an EV for kind of most situations. I could maybe use a few extra horsepower on the highway for high speed passes and maneuvers. The suspension's not soft or floaty, and it's not too stiff. It's definitely kind of on the firmer side. It is also cold out, shock fluids a little bit more viscous, so it's going to be a little bit stiffer in the wintertime. Throttle tuning is nice. I like the way you kind of blend into acceleration in this bZ4X. Some big potholes there. More notifications saying we don't have regenerative braking. That gets pretty annoying after a little while. Again, that's only an issue in cold weather. Drive this in the warm weather, it takes about maybe 15 minutes for the battery pack to heat up, and you have regen. Here's a good example of headlight performance here on this dark road. So brights on, you can see pretty much everything. We do get a dimmer switch here, but it only controls that front display. It doesn't control our big bright infotainment screen. Let's see what auto high beam performance is like here. We've got a button for that here to the left. Very few functions and features are hidden in the infotainment, and I really gotta give Toyota credit for that. This is kind of how an EV should be, not an iPad on wheels. Just give us buttons, give us controls, make it easy on the driver to do the things that they want to. Toyota, Nissan, Honda are all doing a pretty good job with that these days. This week I was really hoping we'd see some snow and we could test this bZ4X in some inclement weather, but that is not the case. So I guess we just have our little bumpy road. We'll go into X mode here. Snow, dirt, I'll say deep snow and mud. We'll test out ride quality. We've got plenty of ground clearance for some trails, light off-roading, no issues there. Okay, looks like VSC is off. I'm not sure if that's fully off or just partially off. We don't really have a low grip scenario to test that in today. Whoa, these bigger wheels don't offer a lot of sidewall cushion. Let's see how we do with an articulation situation here. Alright, so that's lifting a rear wheel, and X mode just handles it like a champ. Beautiful. Nice. Hear the chassis flexing there. That was very seamless, very quiet. I wouldn't mind taking a Solterra off-road someday. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Okay, so, you know, for your off-roading, your forest trail, I wouldn't mind a little bit more sidewall from these wheels, tires. This limited trim has slightly larger wheels than the XLE, and that does affect range. Let's try that articulation one more time. Alright, so approaching. That is beautiful. Nice. See traction control lights flashing, things whirring away, the system's figuring it out. But relatively drama-free. That's about all I have for off-road testing routes around here, so I think that will be a wrap on the Toyota bZ4X for today's drive. $263 miles now with climate off, 169 with it on, and eco mode gains us about 20 miles, 15 miles. All right, guys, just some more thoughts on the bZ4X. Overall, a nice EV to live with, though I would like Toyota to improve their battery management just a little bit better. We need regen a little bit quicker in a car like this. I would like to have faster charge rates. I mean, this is not going to be a road trip vehicle, and it would be nice to be able to fast charge this a little bit more aggressively. I feel like Toyota was just super conservative here with the tuning of this battery pack and the battery management. And to be competitive, they need to do a little bit better with that stuff. Hopefully we see some improvements in future models, but for now, for your $50,000, this is what the bZ4X gets you. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.